Welcome back to another ValueBytes episode. We are really excited to talk with Mike today about some ways that you can prepare your business to exit. So before we dive in on all of the things that you can share with our audience about preparing the business, preparing yourself as the business owner, can you just give us a quick overview of what you do, how you help business owners, and what maybe makes you a little bit unique in this space, Mike?
Yeah, thanks for having me, first of all, Heather. One of the biggest things I do is I help businesses create a process by which allows them to exit their business, right? I mean, everyone's going to exit their business someday. The question is they don't know when. And my specialty is helping them with those unexpected events, death, disability, divorce, any of those type of things. What happens when that happens. And so I help them, having a plan in place allows them to prepare for the expected and unexpected as well. And unless their business continue, that's really what people do, right? They want a business, they want it to continue, and maybe their kids take over and so forth. So let's have a plan so that actually happens.
So, Mike, we're really grateful for you to jump on and just share your insight and expertise from that lens. And so, what would you say when business owners are planning for their exit? What are some of the key factors that you really think they need to focus on?
Well, there's 6 key factors that I look at when I work with a business owner, and that is, personal issues, financial issues, tax issues, value creation, business issues, and then of course legal. So if I could talk about just a couple of those, the personal issues are one of the biggest ones, because you have a family business. Typically it starts with a family and then it starts growing. Well, when you work with a family, you have the mother and father and the kids working, for instance, right? But when you go to work, you're not the mom or the dad anymore. You're the CEO or the sales director, whatever it is. And you have to make those differences and determinations of who's who in order for that business to really be a business, not a basically a home, right? With some money coming in. The other is value creation. If you don't have something to sell, then what are people going to buy? So you have to have something that they can use. So there has to be processes in place that allow the business to run without you. And finally, the tax issues. A lot of people don't realize the business owners, their biggest expense is taxes. And if you don't plan properly for taxes, as you whether sell or you grow or you end up exiting unexpectedly and leave it to the family, there's still going to be a tax you either pass on or you have to pay at the sale. So taxes are really a big deal.
You touched on some of those important challenges that owners will face when they're planning their exit. I'd love to go deeper into maybe one or two of those challenges, and
Okay.
just how you kind of help owners prepare for those things. Maybe the tax issue, or some of those, getting the personal issues worked out. You want to pick one or two of those and just go a little bit deeper on what that really looks like and some of the ways that you help owners mitigate that risk, or just be more prepared to know what's coming in the future.
Yeah, so I had one family who owns a business, and basically the dad was trying to prepare a way to set up his retirement, right? Every time you have a business, there's always going to be a retirement phase. And so he wanted his sons to take over, but they didn't really have a set position for each one of the sons, and what they did in that position. When they came to work, it's like, hey dad, how you doing? It's like, oh, hey, could you go do this for me? Can you do this for me? It's like, well, that's not my job. Well, yeah, it is. So you have this argument, these argumentative issues that come in, because then the business and the employees are seeing, well, what does this guy do? Well, he told me to do this yesterday, but now he's telling me. So when you take the family part out of it, as far as the organization, and you put the business categories, CEO, president, whatever you want to do, CFO, operations manager, all these type of things. So once you come to work, you know that, okay, I am the operations manager today. I'm not the son, or I'm not the brother. And I'm not telling my brother what to do. I'm communicating with the sales director to find out how we can work together and grow the business. Does that make sense?
You make it sound so easy. I'm sure it just works out beautifully every time, right?
Oh yeah. And then I wake up and it's reality.
That is such a great point, though, about family businesses, especially, and starting to work on creating some plans to reduce the conflict and get people in their right roles instead of just sort of doing whatever dad's tasking them with for the day.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's a great example, I feel like, of how having a plan can really help in the short term. And obviously it's going to influence the long term as well. But what are some other ways that you feel like having a clear exit plan can really benefit a business looking at that long-term focus?
Yeah. So the exit planning strategy, a lot of businesses have a financial strategy, sales strategy, growth strategy, but they don't typically have an exit strategy, right? And having an exit strategy, it gives the owner more control over how they exit. Like I mentioned before, they're going to exit someday. The question is, how? Are they going to have a disease or something that occurs unexpected? So now all of a sudden, what do I do? And now you're at the mercy of the people that are working for you, opposed to you are at the mercy of a plan that you created. It's also going to maximize the value during good and bad times, because it's not going to matter whether you're there or not, because you have that plan in place, right? You keep more of their money in their pockets, opposed to going to Uncle Sam because they didn't do this or they didn't do that right. And so now the taxes are higher at the exit, like I said, depending on what time of exit they do. And then it also, when they're ready to sell, there's a due diligence process. If you have a plan in place to where you've got everything lined out, everything on paper, and everyone has their position, when the new business owner or the prospective business owner looks in, everything's going to be there. All the financials are going to be in order. And so having these strategic options to choose from, not go straight to the fire sale if something happens. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
and that the idea of people having to liquidate or fire sale because they weren't prepared is just, it's so heartbreaking. And I think that that's a big part of our mission in doing this series and educating the business owners we work with, because we're all about marketing, but really we're all about helping people be successful, and anything
Right.
we can do to help keep them from having that reality. I feel like it's almost our duty at this point, right? Like, we don't have a
Yeah.
fiduciary duty to our clients like you do, but we
Yeah.
kind of have a moral obligation to them, to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that we're not letting them, go down that path.
Right.
So I want to kind of circle back to, you mentioned that most businesses have a sales strategy, a financial strategy. They have these things in place,
Yeah.
but the exit strategy is something they're missing. We often see that they don't have a good or really true marketing strategy in place. And
Yeah.
especially, I don't think we've ever come across a business that already has a marketing strategy that aligns with that exit plan, that helps take them where they're going. And so I'd love to just kind of selfishly get your thoughts on, what could that do for a business? Or have you ever seen a business that has a marketing strategy that aligns with the owner's vision for exiting? And how have you seen, or do you think it would help the effectiveness of the overall marketing, or sorry, the overall exit plan?
Yeah, Heather, marketing strategies, they have to be clear. They really, people have to know what they're getting themselves into if they go with this company, right? It has to be effective and consistent as well. The consistency, I think, with marketing plans is the hardest part, right? Because they'll find the newest, the best, the greatest, the person that speaks to them the best, and oh, this is a great deal. And then they'll do it for a little bit, and they'll, I don't know if I want to keep doing this, and they let it go, right? So they have to have a professional looking website. People look them up. They have to know, hey, this guy's got it together, you know? Um, and the businesses cannot be dependent on the owner. And I mentioned this already. And the reason that is because, you know, if you have a business that can't run without you, because typically the business owners are the sales guys, right? Or gals.
Hmm.
And so without them, the business doesn't grow. It may be able to sustain for a little bit of time, but it has to grow. And having a market strategy, a good market strategy in place, that's going to make sure that no matter what happens, the market strategy is always going to be there, and you're going to keep that business growing, which ultimately any business owner who wants to buy another business, they're going to look for that.
So when we're talking about the marketing strategy, the exit planning strategy, all of these different aspects, timing absolutely plays a role in that. And so
Yeah.
how do you feel like, from your perspective, that business owners can determine two things: the right time to begin to plan, but also the right time to exit?
Okay. Yeah, you know, if a business owner has an exit strategy in place, then timing won't really matter, right? So the time to do an exit plan is at the beginning. You have to plan your exit when you start, because there has to be a time where, you know, like I mentioned before, everyone's going to exit someday. You're either going to die suddenly, you're going to get sick or injured, or you're going to get burned out. You may have a divorce. You have to buy out your wife or partner. Um, and it's like, it's going to happen. It's kind of like death, right? You sell life insurance. You know you're going to die someday. The question is when, right? So do you want it there when you die, or do you want it there just for the time when you're alive? So having a strategy in place, it will not affect the time, because part of the strategy is deciding, okay, if this happens, you should have this in place. If this happens, you should have this in place. So does that make sense?
Oh, for sure. I love what you said about the fact that I mean, the same thing you've been saying, you're going to exit no matter what. And so if you have that plan, then the timing ultimately in the big picture doesn't matter. I think that is such a validation of why it's worthwhile to start planning, and that timing wise is now, right at the beginning, whatever the beginning is for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we see that so often that people don't even want to talk about it because they feel like it's so far off in the future. You
Yeah.
don't control that, right? It's like death, taxes, and exiting your business are the three things that are gonna happen to all of us that own
Right.
businesses. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And so being prepared. I think you mentioned too some ways earlier in the conversation that starting to prepare now is just going to make your business run better anyway. It's not like it's going to take you off track or make things harder. It's going to free you up and give you more time to do what you want to do and make you feel more confident about the future. So,
Yeah. It's like,
definitely worth it to
when's the best
plan
time to
early.
plant an oak tree? Like today. I mean, you can't go back, right? Just start it. Just do it.
Yeah. So, can you share a success story or an example of a business owner you've worked with that did start early, was able to put a plan in place, and maybe they've exited, maybe they haven't, and they've just gotten some other benefits from it. But I think it'd be great to share a story and then any lessons that our audience could learn from that and what they were able to do because of their early planning.
Yeah, you know, one of my clients, you know, it's a father-son organization, and he's got three sons, and he's the founder. You know, he came to me and he wanted to make sure that the business continues so that the sons have something to build on, right? But he didn't have any processes in place or any plans for exiting, so that if something did happen. So I was able to work with them and teach the sons about the different roles that they have, and help them create. I guided them as they created the processes, the procedures, the individual roles. Each job has a role. So I was able to help them create that and design that program. So now the father's retired. He did have a life he almost died basically. But having things in place already helped the sons to know that, okay, well, now that dad's kind of out a little earlier than he planned, right? We still got it covered and we still got him taken care of. And so that actually saved their business. So
Wow.
I'm pretty proud of that one.
Yeah, that's an amazing example.
Yes, that's such a great example of the kind of dual aspects of it, not only helping in the short run, but also that long term as well. And how incredible for the sons, those family members, to have the confidence as they're navigating forward, the validation that they're on the right track, and then not to have to worry about their dad while they're also worrying about the business. It's already planned and mapped out. Really, I imagine, help them to focus on the key areas that they needed to, and not have what could ultimately be a distraction or detrimental, or kind of like alter the path from the true
Mhm.
vision of the organization. So I love that
It's so
example. And
great that the dad got to see his, vision for his kids be fulfilled too. Maybe not in the way that he had hoped or in the timing he had hoped, but he's getting to see that happen. So that's pretty cool too.
very
Yeah.
cool. Well, Mike,
Yeah.
thanks so much for jumping on today,
Thanks for
sharing
having
some
me.
quick insights, and just really sharing your experience. You have great stories and great expertise, obviously, to
Thank you.
help folks in planning and securing that future. So where can people connect with you to learn more, to get some of their questions answered? What is the best place for them to connect with you?
Yeah, thanks, Randy. The best place to connect is really online. Next Act pensionretirement.com is one of my websites, and it kind of just gives a basic understanding of what I do. My phone number is 916-225-7400. It's my direct line. Text messaging is allowed as well. And so I'm pretty accessible.
Thank you so much, Mike. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having
Thank
me.
you.